Hi there, happy hump day and welcome to Wednesday. Negotiating. Do you like it? Love it? Loathe it? We negotiate in many aspects of our life, and typically I find people will either love it or loathe it. There's not usually an in-between. I also find that when people negotiate, they take typically one of four different styles. The question to consider is, which style do you predominantly use? So the first one's the avoider. The avoider, well, as the name suggests, they avoid negotiating at all costs. They don't want to get into conversations that are hard and tricky and challenging. They worry about what people are going to do or say or what they're going to think about them. And so because they don't like confrontation, they tend to step back. They'd much rather just go with the flow and not say anything. But the challenge with that is that when you don't step into a negotiation, when you're not ready for the conversation, that means things are going to pass you by. Now, of course, there are absolutely times when perhaps you do want to avoid conversations, but as an overall strategy, it's not going to get you where you want to go. The next one is a person who's impulsive. They think with their heart. They let emotions run the show. They don't think through consequences. They don't think about long-term relationships. They often find it hard to stay calm and rational because the emotional part of the brain is running the show. Also, once they have engaged in a conversation, they find it very hard to pull back or to disengage if they need to. That means they can often say things that they'll regret. The challenge with this approach is it can impact the health of relationships. It can also impact your reputation. The next one is the peacemaker. Now, the peacemaker will step into the conversation, but they are going to take the path of least resistance. This is the person who's willing to accept the views of others, willing to accept other people's positions. They just want to get to an outcome in the easiest possible way. They're also far more concerned about making sure everybody else is happy than making sure that their own needs are met. So the challenge with this is, if this is you, whilst you can be making sure that everyone else is okay, who's making sure that you're okay? And lastly, the fighter. This is kind of like, cue the Rocky Balboa music. Of course, with the fighter, they like confrontation. They like the challenge. They love the energy associated with really intense debates. They can be really quick on their feet, but they can also come across as angry and a bully. Now, there can be times where getting someone like this to negotiate on your behalf could be a good strategy. But the challenge is, if this is you, if you're always up for the fight, once again, what does that do to the relationships that you're building? Sure, absolutely, there are times where you need to hold ground. You need to be firm, be assertive, but it's a balance. So when you think of those, which one's you? You actually need a little bit of all four, because the best negotiators know how to slide up and down the scale. They know how to state their wants and needs, but they know how to do it with a view to long-term relationships. They know that they always need to think long-term, that they're balancing, that they want the other person that they're negotiating with at the end of the conversation to walk away feeling as though they've got what they wanted too. Because the challenge is, if you have a negotiation with someone and you get everything you want and they get nothing they want, they'll remember that. That'll stay with them. Which means next time you need to negotiate with them, and there usually is a next time, they're going to feel already dissatisfied. They're going to go in and negotiate harder, stronger. They'll hold ground for longer. So when you're negotiating, it's not always about you getting the biggest piece of the pie. It's about, how do you share the pie? How do you make sure it's equitable? And so some of this starts with asking questions, because it is a trade-off. You're understanding their needs, you want them to understand your needs. It's the, well, what if? What if we did this? If I do this, what will you do? You want them to think about the trade-offs, the bits that you have, the bits that they'll get, and how you come to an outcome where everyone's needs are met. You know, negotiations are never a smooth, straight line, but they're certainly a constant in life. So, the question for you is, next time you're negotiating, which of these styles do you need more of or less of? Take care and have a fantastic week. Bye.